Hi, my name is Aiden Rodriguez. Welcome back to my podcast, Is Religion the Real Monster? Today, I will be analyzing and discussing the text of Grettir Saga, and my thesis is Glam and Christianity's relationship of rejection in Grettir Saga shows the tension between medieval Iceland's pagan past and their new faith in Christianity. So I will be looking at the relationship of rejection, how this tension represents the relationship between medieval Iceland's pagan past and their new faith in Christianity, and how this can show religion's impact on monsters, but also society as a whole. I have this visual aid with me just to show some photos that I feel represent my thoughts and how I want to explain this process of analyzing through more of a visual type of way because I didn't really get to do that in the past. So, for some background information, medieval Iceland used to have a pagan past, and this was shown throughout Grettir Saga in more of a symbol type of way. There's a lot of symbolism towards paganism. And Grettir Saga was written after the country converted from paganism to Christianity around 1000 CE. The excerpt pictures Glam, a shepherd from Sweden who works on Thorhall's cursed farm in Thorhallstead. Glam demonstrates the typical characteristics of a vampire. He rises from the dead, he haunts the town, he kills animals and other shepherds. And these hauntings are stopped after Grettir Asmundarson, a warrior, cuts off the head of Glam in the end of the excerpt. So to begin, I will first discuss the example of Grettir lacking faith in being unable to enter Thorhallsted's church. So Glam began working for Thorhall in the winter, a really important holiday season for Christianity. Thorhallsted has a church, but Glam never goes, which was seen on page 71 of Grettir Saga, as he hated the chants and had absolutely no faith. So chants are really important prayers in the church. They can be sung, they can be discussed, they are usually talked about or kind of sang by the entire choir or the priest or the entire community. And as Christians practice their faith together, it really strengthens Christianity as a whole, especially in that church. So Glam hates these chants because he rejects Christianity. He is anti-Christian and believed their customs were pointless. He could not agree with this new faith in Christianity in specifically the town, but in a sense, the entire country of Iceland during this time. So Christmas comes around and Glam refuses to practice fasting, which is a really important spiritual preparation for Christmas because it's cleansing themselves. They're focusing on prayer to let Christ in because he's about to be born. On page 71, Glam says, I can't see that people are better off nowadays than they were before. They didn't bother with such nonsense. I like the old custom better when people were still heathens. So Glam is just directly rejecting the customs, and he liked the older customs of the country, which was paganism. They focused more on nature and magic. He said people were considered heathens because they did not believe in one God, like Christianity does. They were not monotheistic. Paganism believed in a whole bunch of different gods, deities, nature. So they were considered heathens because they did not abide by what Christianity followed or what they believed in. Glam's rejection of these new customs and his preference to the old custom conveys his loyalty to paganism. He really believed that the country was no better just because they had this new profound belief in Christianity. He preferred when people were heathens, when they followed paganism. He really liked that old history of Iceland. Therefore, through this rejection of Christianity, he shows that tension between Iceland's pagan past and its new Christian faith. I have two photos here showing the customs of Christianity and paganism, more historic pieces of art. So this one just shows Christians chanting in the church. And this one is a pagan photo of them almost like worshiping towards a bull. There's a fire and a man is putting his hands up, probably the priest of the paganism religion. I just think there's a lot of contrast in this. You see these people together around a book, really having almost like these really emotional faces. They're really feeling that religion and spirituality. In this one, they might also be doing that, but they're focusing more on an animal. They're focusing more on burning. So I think you can kind of see that tension between these two religions in this photo. So even in death, Glam is rejecting Christianity. The townspeople felt the need to bury Glam in the church after he died. So he died in the mountains while herding sheep around the time of Christmas. The townspeople believed he was killed by a monster. But going back, they wanted to bury him in the town church, but they could not drag his body from the valley. It was said on page 72 that oxen were used to haul it along, but they could not move it at all when the slope stopped and they came to level ground. Christians believe that the dead should be buried in church because it's holy ground. It's honoring the person before the resurrection of heaven. It's giving them a place to be with all their other Christians because then they will all be together in heaven. Glam was refusing to practice Christianity and he's favoring paganism. He continues to be anti-Christian even in death. His body refuses to be moved even in death because he physically does not want to be or rejects the idea of being buried in the Christian graveyard or the Christian church. He rejects that Christian custom of a church burial. His dead body overpowers the strength of the townspeople and their oxen, which is really strange because he's only one person and you have these really big, strong oxen that are trying to pull him. So obviously something's not right and he has to be rejecting this idea of being pulled down to the church. His anti-Christian body cannot be buried in the holy Christian church, which is a very usual thing. There's this idea if maybe in the past more than now with like sin and corruption that you couldn't really be buried in the church if you had these almost anti-ideals of what Christianity sees in a person. Christianity believes it's vital to bury a dead body on the church grounds, but pagans are anti-Christian and cannot be buried on holy Christian ground. This is kind of showing that tension between their new faith in Christianity and the past of paganism in Iceland, because again, it's just outright rejecting the idea of Christianity and abiding by their rules. His dead body would rather just stay in the valley in the cold because he doesn't like their ideals. He doesn't like their customs. It's not something he follows or prefers. So we will now go on to Glam haunting Thorhallstead after he dies. Like I said, he kills animals and shepherds. And the changing of seasons show when the vampire's haunting kind of rises and decrease. On page 37, it was said that in the spring, Thorhall engaged new servants and started farming again. The hauntings diminished as the days grew longer. So during the spring and longer daytimes, Glam's hauntings declined. So I was trying to, why would this happen? I didn't really understand, but then thinking deeper about it, Easter is celebrated in the springtime. This is the time of rebirth. Jesus rises from the dead and saves humanity from sin. Nature's bloom also symbolizes the new life through Christ. Longer days represents God's light overcoming the devil's darkness. But seasons change and everything happened just as before. When the autumn set in, the hauntings grew worse again. This was said on page 75. So there's kind of this cycle because everything is happening just as before. The colder seasons arrive and days become shorter. Glam's haunting increases with more damage. Christianity associates darkness with the devil and evil. God's light and protection are starting to diminish over the world because the days are shorter, and Christians are waiting for this divine light to come back in. As winter focuses on Christmas, it is also a time to celebrate the birth of Christ. So these two seasons have really important holidays for Christianity. Christianity really centers themselves around the liturgical calendar, which focuses on these important Christian holidays, structuring beliefs on the death and return of Christ. So pagan beliefs, on the other hand, are tied more to nature, like I said, different gods, deities. So Glam's hauntings return with less daylight and reduce with more darkness because Glam is anti-Christian. His hauntings follow the pagan nature cycle. Excuse me. As Glam operates around paganism, he's weaker during Easter because Christianity is celebrating Christ's return. It is a powerful time for Christian spirituality, so Glam as a pagan is rejecting this time of Christian importance. He's kind of going away, doesn't want to haunt as much because he doesn't want to be there when Christians are celebrating and have this much excitement and power. He's kind of rejecting their celebration. He's like, I'm gonna go away. I'm gonna leave you guys alone. Like, it's time for me to go. And Christmas also celebrates Christ's birth and the hope for evil's defeat. This is also the anniversary of Glam's death. He died around Christmas Eve. So therefore, he's coming back because he's more powerful. He really is touching into his paganism by honestly killing more animals and shepherds, which is, I think, a little sad to say. Excuse me. But he is rejecting Christianity in this way by coming back and haunting more because they're celebrating one of the most important holidays of their entire season. I mean, their Savior, Jesus Christ, was just born. They are getting ready to prepare for one of the biggest celebrations of their entire liturgical calendar. So he's coming back and haunting more than ever, haunting with more damage as a way to kind of diminish their celebration and fight off what they believe in, their ideals. It's kind of saying like, I'm still here, paganism is still here, he's going to fight against their beliefs. So therefore, I feel like Glam is rejecting Christianity by haunting and killing more people during Christmas's sacred celebration of their Savior's birth. I also, again, have 2 new photos. We have a painting of a celebration of Christmas with Christ and Mary, and there's a lot of people kind of around the child that is being baptized. And then on the other hand, we have a historic photo or painting, in a way, of paganism celebration. So the Christianity one shows people together around this child. They're kind of in prayer, kind of focusing on what I presume is baby Jesus. And then on the paganism side, it's all these people in congregation in nature. They have a lot of florals in their hairs. They have a table with a lot of different foods. They're surrounded by trees. A man is wearing some sort of headpiece that kind of looks like antlers. So I think this shows that kind of conflict between the 2 religions. The Christianity depiction looks a little bit more, not organized in a sense, but they're in a building. They're together. They're focusing on more of the child and baptism and possibly faith and prayer. While paganism, on the other hand, focuses more on this side of nature that they really focus their religion on and really utilize within their beliefs. So I think that kind of shows that tension between the 2 religions and what Glam kind of showed with his decrease and increase of hauntings. So to finalize this analysis on the relationship or rejection between Glam and Christianity, I wanted to talk about the diction that's used in Grettir Saga more towards the end of the excerpt that kind of describes Glam as evil, showing this tension between the medieval Iceland pagans past and their new faith in Christianity. So as Grettir decides to withdraw Halstead because he's really curious about this new monster Glam, a family member warns from evil beings like Glam, only evil can be gained, and it is always better to deal with human beings than with monsters of his kind, from page 76. Christianity associates evil with anti-Christian ideals, so like sin, the devil, corruption. And Glam is being said to embody this because he acts directly against the faith. I mean, he said he likes old customs better. He is killing animals and shepherds. So humans can kind of form this relationship with God. They can go back to Christianity or convert to Christianity, which allows them to be saved. But Glam is beyond saving because he's rejecting Christianity. He is, in a way, a monster. He doesn't follow their ideals. He outright rejects it by saying it in the way he practices his lifestyle. It's not in the way of faith, prayer, praying to one holy, true God. So he's kind of being used as a monstrosity, and he's been very demonized by this idea of Christianity. So after Grettir's successful defeat over Glam, Thorhall praised God and thanked Grettir for warmly vanquishing this unclean spirit on page 79. So Thorhall went directly to praising God. He didn't even thank Grettir or say anything about Grettir. He went directly to praising God and for the victory of overcoming Glam. So this victory of Grettir overcoming Glam came from God. It was directly from God, and vanquishing kind of suggests the defeat of an evil being, and Glam is an unclean spirit because he killed animals and people. He doesn't follow the ideals of Christianity. He prefers paganism, which is something Christianity does not agree with. So I just feel as though the words used in this section of the text, the end of the text, really just makes Glam to be a monster. They're outright calling him evil. They're directly praising the Christian God. And it's kind of just using Christianity in a way to demonize and create Glam as a monster. And as we know, Glam is this representation of paganism. He is not a representation of Christianity. He shows almost direct anti-ideals of Christianity. So they're weaponizing this form of Christianity in order to push out and kind of dismiss this idea of paganism in order to really strengthen Christianity within the town, or even in a larger sense, the country. I think it's kind of showing that tension between using these ideas of monstrosity or evil in order to reinforce the power or strength of a religion like Christianity, a very mass-followed religion like Christianity. And it kind of was shown throughout this history of Iceland's convert from paganism to Christianity. I also have these two photos that I feel like really represent this idea of making Glam out to be evil or directly calling him evil. We have a photo of Grettir, and he's being shown with, a helmet and a cape, and he's draped in very medieval, nicer clothes, and he has a sword with him. He's very broad and tall. He looks very strong. On the other hand, we have this painting of Grettir, and he's on top of a house. He's being shown with green eyes. He has very long, slim fingers. He has very spiky hair, kind of a crooked nose, scattered teeth. I think in this photo, they're really painting him out to be this evil being. He doesn't look like a human. Instead, he looks like a monster. He has green eyes. He has pointy fingers. He's on top of a building. I just think it was a really direct portrayal of how they're trying to demonize him and make him into a monster. They're trying to make him look evil. He has a lot of characteristics that people use to describe monsters. So again, I just think this diction was really demonizing Glam in this section, and then therefore demonizing paganism because he is a representation of paganism. So you may be asking, why is this important, or what does this say? Or you might just be enjoying the podcast so far, which I hope you are. But we will be getting more into what this says. So this rejection of relationship between Glam and Christianity shows the tension between medieval Icelandic the pagan past, and the new shift to Christianity. So this tension can really be linked historically, as paganism was the prominent religion of many societies and Iceland in the past. I just wanted to show more photos here. There is a depiction of a Norse god from a pagan god from Norse mythology in Iceland, and it shows him surrounded by animals, surrounded by the sun. He has a cool little hat, he has a bird on him, and he has a sword. And then on the right is a older, more historic photo or painting of Christianity. It shows kind of the hierarchy of the church, and there's angels, and they're both representations of the religions of Iceland's past. So paganism focuses on polytheism, so they worship many gods, they focus their beliefs on the natural world, they offer sacrifices or worship statues and idols. Christianity, on the other hand, as we know, is monotheism. They worship one true God. God is the only person you pray to, and you never perform sacrifices. They believe God made the natural world. So Iceland was not the first or only country to convert from paganism to Christianity, as this can be tied back to even the Roman Empire in 300 CE with Constantine legalizing the faith. So when I thought of this, I just thought of when an entire country or society converts to a new religion, it takes time and it causes a lot of conflict because some people want to stay with that past. They want to stay with what they know. And others want to go to this new faith because everybody else is doing it. It's this new thing. But those people that want to stay with the old faith, they want to stay with it because they enjoy the practice, its stability, it's very comforting to them. So this new religion can be really intimidating or scary, as there's a whole new set of rules and practices a person has to learn and follow. It's kind of uncomfortable. So as religions change, the new prominent religions such as Christianity will almost deem the old religion as inferior or not true in order to uplift themselves. They need to have this source of power. They need to have this source of hierarchy in order to legitimize themselves as the religion of the society or country. They need to show that this other religion, it isn't true. They don't know what they're talking about. This is the ways of the past. But our religion, it's new, it's perfect, it knows what it's doing. It can really make sense for us. It really fits in our society. And both religions will kind of see this as a threat to their legitimacy because they want to make sure people are following it. They want to make sure people are comfortable with it. They want to make sure that they are that religion of that society. And this, as we've seen, leads to tensions, conflicts. It can even lead to religious wars. So I feel like this kind of past says a lot about that tension of Christianity and paganism in Grettir Saga. So I just wanted to talk about what this says more about religion and monsters as a whole. And while I was reading and analyzing Grettir Saga in this relationship, I kept thinking about Jeffrey Jerome Cohen's Monster Culture 7 Theses. And specifically, it was a quote from his seventh and final thesis on page 52, "The monster stands at the threshold of becoming." And it says, "Monsters are our children. They can be pushed to the farthest margins of geography and discourse, hidden away at the edges of the world and in the forbidden recesses of our mind, but they always return." And the final sentence says, "They ask us why we have created them." So religion is this social construct that was made for people to understand their place in the world and make sense of life itself. It is a way to bring people together and connect them, and it gives them a purpose and future to look forward to. I mean, I know in Christianity, it's this idea of like, when you die, it's not the only end. Like, you will resurrect, you will be again with everybody you know, you will be with God and Jesus in the end. In paganism, I feel like it's more about reconnecting with nature, getting back into that cycle of nature, which is really important for each religion. But also in this way, religion is a social contract. It's made up, honestly, but it doesn't mean it's not valid for people. Like, I totally understand. But I feel like when I was analyzing this and seeing this quote from Cohen, I was just thinking, like, religion creates the monster to serve itself in a way. They assign them evil, anti-religious behaviors and classifications because they do not fit within the standards of the religion. They are not fitting the ideals of what the religion wants and how they want people to follow them and how they want people to be perceived. The monster is everything that the religion is not. Again, monsters are our children. Religion is creating the monster by giving them these evil or anti-religion ideals. They're trying to push them away, but they're always gonna come back. There's no way you can possibly reject something like that. Excuse me. And they ask why we have created them. I mean, why would you create a monster? Why would religion want to ostracize and push off this person just because they don't necessarily fit within their standards? I mean, aren't we all one? Aren't we all uniformly together and equal? I don't know. I also thought that religion creates the monster to serve itself. It assigns, oh, no. Just because religion represses these things does not hide them away. It gives the monster strength, honestly, power, and more to fight back. I also thought of just an idea of like the current state of the world nowadays, especially in America. I mean, I feel like America has this long history of pushing these monstrous ideals onto sets or groups of people that don't necessarily fit into the patriarchy or the idolized version of an American. Like, in my head, this is just how I think of it, like a very, very wealthy or, high in power, rich, white, heterosexual, cisgendered male. So we kind of have seen this in America's current political standings, where religion is used to demonize people of the LGBTQ plus community, specifically a lot of trans people. You also see it with people of color, or you have seen it with people who decide to have abortions, or just these very ostracized groups, these marginalized people. They're being demonized or seen as evil by Christianity. They're being pushed away and told by society that they are not right, they shouldn't be here, or they shouldn't be able to do what they do or be equal to others. They are using, I feel like Christianity or any religion can really use their power to push away these people just because they don't fit within their idealistic standards. But these people are always going to be here. They have always been here in the past, and they're always going to continue to be here. I feel like by monstricizing them, you're just giving them more power. They're here, and they're going to stay here. So, again, the monster asks us why we have created them. I feel like religion really just creates monsters, and it's forcing the monster, as the monster asks, why would religion do this? It's kind of forcing religion to self-reflect about why they create this monstrous evil perception of a different being. It is a way of control, which leads to the last point of religion's impact on society. So what does this kind of all say about religion? Religion was and is actively made. It was created for order and purpose and to bring peace in the idea of existence. Religion uses anti-religion or even other religions as negative images to bring power to itself. Religion can create prejudice against others in order to reinforce this power, to make people conform to their beliefs in order to protect themselves and legitimize their ideas. So they can paint other people as not part of their religion. They can paint people as evil or dangerous. And they say the only way you're able to be protected from these evils is by following our religion. You'll be protected. You'll be okay. So I kind of think it's reinforcing this power of religion over people and really trying to make them conform to a certain standard in order to bring power to them. Religion has also been used as a weapon in the past and can continue to be used as a weapon in the future or even in the present. I feel like, as a person who was raised very Catholic, and I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore, I feel like straying from religion has really made me struggle with attempting to make sense of everything around me. I think religion is extremely important to those who practice it, and I actually think it's a really beautiful thing. I think the culture of religion is really beautiful, especially Catholicism, because that's what I've grown up with, that's what I know. And I think it's amazing the unity it brings between people. But even in my own personal journey, religion can just be a very hard thing to struggle with, especially if you're different than their standards that they want everyone to follow. It can really make you think about your place in the world and how your future is going to come out to. So I think it can just be a really big struggle sometimes. And I think religion can really be used in a way that doesn't fit into almost, at least how I see it, this beautiful way that I see it, and the true beauty of religion as a whole. I think it can really not reflect these ideas. But like I said, I think it also can be a monster in itself because it can validate the othering of people and hate. These are just some different religious symbols. You have a cross, you have the Star of David. So, as always, to end my episodes, I just want to ask one more time, is religion the real monster? I don't know. I personally do not know. I think it can be a monster, or it could be a good thing. It can be a monster because it can use its ideals to ostracize and other people who are not within their ideals, but also I think it can not be a monster because it brings a lot of comfort and love and unity to people. So I think this is an ongoing question that will take a lot of time to really answer, and I don't know if there will ever be a true answer. But I hope you enjoyed my perspective on the relationship of rejection between Glam and Christianity Grettir Saga, and the way this relates to the tension between paganism, Christianity, and medieval Iceland. If you would enjoy another topic that relates to monsters and religion, please add your comments and opinions, and I will have a new topic to discuss next week. So have a great day, and thank you so much for your attention.